Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wareham Planning Board for Monday, April 8th, 2024. Also available via Zoom as listed on the agenda, also posted on the Wareham Planning Board website. We will call the meeting to order with a roll call. Sherry Quirk? Here. Mike Baptiste? Jane Gleason?
Here.
Sam Corbett?
Here.
Carl Schultz?
Here.
And the chair, Michael King, is here. We have a full board. Preliminary business, meeting minutes of March 11, 2024. Has everyone had an opportunity to read them? And is there any comment or concern?
Comment, again, Scrivener's error on this inconsistent spelling of my last name, but that's just a Scrivener error. It does hurt my feelings, but
I didn't
That's
realize
it.
you were so sensitive, but that's okay. Yes. But when she makes note of it in tonight's meeting, I hope she spells his name right.
so, yes, for the record, the correct spelling of my name is S-C-H-U-L-Z.
So noted.
So noted, thank you.
Found some very small punctuation and spelling errors. I didn't catch the spellings of your name, so I apologize for that, but I submitted those to Sonia, and she should have them. I don't think they're worth going over.
Okay, so
And other than noting my name, it's
I didn't see anything, and I didn't catch your name either, I'm sorry. Mike? No comments or concerns on the meeting minutes? You said Carl's last name is fine, right? Just don't worry about it.
I do have a question. I know from speaking with the person who prepares the minutes that it's possible to give guideposts within the minutes, as this set of minutes does in one spot, to show where in the tape you are, at what minute. I wonder if that's something that is useful and should be employed more often.
I think it's great, and I think WCTV should put chapters in the video as well, but they can't do that yet.
Yeah. I think it's possible to insert them here, so I will, possibly every time public comment begins, we can insert a marker.
Marker?
That's good. I think that's,
Okay.
did you find out yet what she's using,
I did.
and it is?
I will tell you
Okay,
a little bit later.
thank you.
Okay, Jane?
No,
No? You're
Concerns?
usually the one that's all over it. I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
no.
You get your red pen out and everything? Yeah, okay. Sam?
Very thorough and normal. They're awesome.
Yep.
They're all in.
Okay, so,
I move that we approve, we're now, according to the latest thing, we're approving, right? I move that we approve the minutes of March 11, 2024, as amended through the discussion.
do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett.
Can you make sure you're unmuted, Sam?
He's unmuted.
He is unmuted, yep.
All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
He's at 1A.
Next up in preliminary business, 37-21 Tobia Way, Christian E. Tobia, two-lot subdivision extension request. Do we have someone? We do.
Hello,
Good
how are
evening.
you? I was here for the last meeting.
If you could, just your name for the
I'm
record.
sorry, Christian Tobia, 5 Crooked River Road.
All righty.
I was advised to come back tonight for a decision on the 6-month extension on the Tobia Way plan.
Okay. I'm going to start off on this one, if you don't mind. So, I did inquire with the town attorney as to the board's ability to grant an extension once the 2 years has passed. His response was not definitive, as typical lawyers tend to be. One statement was the bylaw clearly states the extension request must be made prior to the 2-year expiration.
Is the permit right now?
Correct, right, there's nothing to grant because it's expired. My concern is setting a precedent.
Exactly.
That's my concern, is if, you know, if we grant an extension in your case, or this case, what doors does it open? And where does the town become at risk for larger, more complex cases that they could sit there and say, hey, you granted it for this gentleman, you know, what makes us different than him? So that's my own personal opinion. I don't know if anybody,
So, Mike, if I read what you're saying is, you're saying no, but to solve this, Matt, I think easy, couldn't he submit the same plans he did before? We waive our fees and inspections, and he start a new date?
I absolutely would agree with that,
You know,
100%.
because
I'd have no issue with that whatsoever.
Because I feel bad chastising a citizen when we got all these sleazebag builders coming in here. They do what they want to do. I didn't say that.
My concern is, like I said, if we say, yeah, no problem, we're gonna give you an extension, it kicks the door wide open to other projects, and it kind of limits our ability to control what's happening. But to your point, again, I would have no problem.
That way it'll be a clean paper trail. And
Right, one chapter closes, we reopen a brand-new subdivision. You know, I think the only expense that Mr. Tobia would have to go through would be, the plans would obviously have to be, I think, re-stamped. Because 2 years has passed, I don't know where,
There are, yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean,
no, it's
there
all
are
right,
some other expenses, but go ahead.
yeah. But I think that the plans would have to be reviewed and re-stamped before he submitted them with his new application.
Okay, I'm formulating a motion, but Mike said that we forego inspections. I don't,
Yeah, that part I don't think.
we
would be
can't
right.
because until, we need to inspect once the development starts.
Yep,
So there's no preliminary inspections,
But
but,
there's nothing done, right?
right,
Okay.
so we need to inspect as we normally would, and we need to have the public hearing.
yep.
What we're trying to do is put a clean stake in the
Yeah,
ground. Yeah.
I don't think we should, I agree that okay, so I would like to make a motion that we allow Mr. Tobia to resubmit his application and that we waive the application fees. And we also can read into the record all of the previous documents, but you would need to just,
Just resubmit it all?
Correct.
The
Yes.
office?
Right,
yes. And then we could quickly
we
get this on the agenda.
right.
And unless there's any objections from your neighbors or something, I think if we review the record, go back and look at Charlie's original reports, we asked Mr. Cudero to do a preliminary,
Right, we could,
Review.
we would do our best to keep the additional expenses of
Nothing's changed, it's
refiling.
all the same, it just
Yeah.
expired.
yeah.
Right.
But I think we need to add verbiage saying we're denying the extension.
What,
Yeah, everything you said is fine, but for the record, we need that.
Yeah,
okay, because,
Technically, that's what
well,
we
okay,
we
so
would
I'll
do.
start. I move that we deny
the extension
the
request.
request to extend the permit, or excuse me, the permit,
Yeah.
the subdivision, on the basis of the fact that it's no longer existing.
No longer a valid.
Right, so we can't really extend it. So that's my motion, and then I'll make a second motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? You can't vote.
I don't think,
No,
if
you
I could
can't.
vote, I would.
I know you would.
Aye,
Mike?
aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
So I make a second motion that we allow Mr. Tobia to resubmit, update it to the sense that it's redated and restamped plans, and that we waive the application fee. And we move to get this on the agenda as quickly as possible.
Expeditiously, yeah.
And I also move that we can, if the applicant wishes, we can bring forward to the record all of the previous discussion and any
And
materials.
documents.
And documents.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam? Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Okay, so all I have to do is just go see Sonia?
Yep.
Just resubmit everything to Sonia?
She'll walk you through the process. It's on the record that we waived the fee.
Okay,
Yep,
And,
you're gonna need to get your engineer to just put new dates on the plans, I think.
Right.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Do I have to do anything at the deeds, or no?
Not
That'll be
yet.
I don't
after.
think.
Probably
I-
after
I-
we updated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
once
after.
it's approved.
Then I'll just have to go to the deeds again?
Yep,
Yeah.
With the
exactly,
updated date?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
This protects you as well.
I'm sorry?
This protects you as well.
Okay.
That you've got a clean slate
Okay.
for
And this-
starting the project.
And this will be for another 2 years?
once
Correct.
it,
So that way I don't-
Yeah,
I don't
once
have
yeah,
to-
presuming that it gets
Trying to-
approved, but yes.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no reason to assume that it
Nothing's
wouldn't.
changed with it. It's all exactly the same. It's
Yep.
just,
So it should go.
Yes,
it
you
should
would then
go
get
fairly-
2 years from that date.
okay.
All righty?
All right.
All right,
Thank
thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you working with us.
No, thank you. I appreciate it also.
Can I skip to 4 and 5, where they ask for a continuance?
Sure.
And just bang that out?
Yep.
We're going to skip to preliminary business item number 4 and 5, 7-20 and 9-20 Borrego Solar Systems, 27 Charge Pond Road and 150 Tihonet Road.
So the applicant,
The applicant is either in the audience or on Zoom today to request a continuance, to my understanding. Okay.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay, if you could identify yourself, please?
I'm Greg Sampson. I'm Sullivan and Worcester. I represent New Leaf, proponent of the 150, and I believe David Fixler, who's counsel with Greenberg Traurig, is on as representing 27 Charge Pond Road.
Okay. And so you're requesting a continuance to what date?
I believe it was the May meeting, I pulling up my calendar right now.
the 13th.
Are you meeting the 12th of May? Is that the first
Whatever.
Monday meeting?
First meeting is the 13th.
Okay, then that would be it. Sorry, yes, Monday the 13th is the request.
How busy is it? Do you have your,
Right now, the only thing that's on it is the urban renewal plan.
okay, I move that we continue 0720 Borrego Solar System, 27 Church Pond Road, and 0920 Borrego Solar System, 150 Tihonet Road, until the planning board meeting of Monday, May 13th.
Second?
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Sherry?
I will not be available that night. I will, as many of you know, I'm running for the select board, and I will either no longer be on this board because I was elected, or I will be still on this board, but I'll be in Europe at that point. So,
Well, you'll still be on the board, because I'm running a sticker campaign to undermine your
So,
candidacy.
Just a procedure question, if you get elected, you take office immediately? When is the swearing date?
I think it's immediate.
That evening.
That evening? Okay. All right. And then you would drop off immediately? Is that the way the
Yes.
procedure is?
I don't believe I can hold both offices,
Okay.
but,
Okay, so on this vote?
I mean, it's up to you all. I mean, I've submitted a lot of information in this case. I actually have one set of citations that did not make it into the minutes that I will now submit so that we can complete that just as a matter of form. And I'll get this to our current minute taker. And I hope that Sonia can send it out. But these are some sites that were submitted on June 26th, 2023, if you guys want to take a look at that. And then I had a couple of more for tonight that
Well,
talks
we
of-
can't really discuss the application.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because they've already asked for the continuance. I
We have a
don't think-
motion on the floor.
Yeah, unless the motion is withdrawn, but then we're opening up.
Then we have to, this isn't a public hearing, but the applicant's not.
Well, for the ones that I just passed out, this is an oversight in the minutes.
Okay, so I withdraw my motion, and you can open discussion before we take up the matter of.
So this is strictly,
As long as Attorney Sampson is okay.
well, that's what I was just gonna ask. So this is strictly clerical, what we're doing right now.
That's right.
Okay.
And I'll hold off on the other sites for the moment, and if someone wants to offer them at a later time,
Right.
that
No,
would be up to them.
you'll be here, don't you worry about it.
Has Attorney Sampson seen, Sharon,
Yes?
has Attorney Sampson seen this document?
I believe that he saw it when it was originally discussed. The omission was in the minutes. As we all know from our study of what is properly placed in the minutes, you need to refer to all documents that are discussed, and the minutes did not reflect this.
Okay, so, but he has a copy of it.
He should, if he does not,
Well, he has his hand up, so,
yes.
And which meeting are we adding these to?
Well, it says June 26, 2020.
Oh.
That's right.
Oh, okay, I see that. So we need to amend those minutes formally to add this to the minutes
right, and then we vote.
and revote.
That would be another way to do it,
Yeah, okay.
Or we could simply add them to tonight's as cleanup of a clerical error.
Either way.
Well, I personally.
Then we got to go back and, tonight's minutes, okay.
Okay.
I don't think this is the right time to be discussing
Okay.
what's in it. Just the fact that we have a document that's gonna help us clean up an oversight from a previous meeting. Okay. Mr. Fixler, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to state my name for the record, David Fixler from the law firm of Greenberg Charig. I represent Distributed Solar Development, which is the owner of the project company that owns 27 Charge Pond. I wrote a letter to Sonia on April 3rd requesting the deferment. I just wanted to state that I'm also on Zoom, just for the record.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I think we can go back to the motion to
I'll withdraw the
continue.
original.
All right,
I'll make
I move, excuse me, before we move. Just, Mr. Wexler, could you explain your relationship to, how do these two companies relate? This is the first time I think we've heard of you.
Right.
So sure, I'm happy to do so, and it's a perfectly timely question. So the way the deal worked, and there is, if you look at the record there, Attorney Sampson did write a letter a couple of years ago saying that New Leaf Energy had sold the project to Distributed Solar Development, but New Leaf was still going to be on point for the permitting, which is what has happened. But as we get closer, Distributed Solar Development has gotten more involved, and so this is my first appearance before you, and that's the connection.
Okay, so again, who will we be signing, if we were to issue an extension for, if we were to issue an extension for good cause, who would we be issuing the extension to?
The project company hasn't changed. It's just the owner of the project company that's changed.
So it's still.
Still New Leaf. Okay, thank you. I'm satisfied if there's any more discussion. I move that we continue the discussion of 0720 Borrego Systems, Borrego Solar Systems, 27 Charge Pond Road, and 0920 Borrego Solar System, 150 Tihonet Road, to the planning board meeting of Monday, May 13th.
Correct. Second.
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you for taking the time to appear tonight, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And how about this correction to the record?
We need a motion to enter it into the record.
So, I move that we add the document that Ms. Quirk submitted, which is titled Links to Articles on Battery Storage Safety Systems, Safety Issues, which was originally reviewed at the June 26, 2023 meeting, to the record. And rather than amending the minutes for that meeting, I just
We'll just enter it into the
read it
record.
into the record tonight, and that if Attorney Sampson doesn't have a copy, he can reach out to Sonia or Josh and get one.
Okay? Yep.
And if Sonia should make sure it's on the website so the public can see it.
Second.
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Sherry, you can vote on this, I think. This is the clerical issue.
It's true. Aye.
Aye.
Mike, Jane,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Carl,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay. Next up, 32-21, RESI LLC 3648 248 Robinwood Road. Map 4, lots A, B, and C, endorsement of Mylar. Mr. Schultz, I believe you have some comment on this?
Yeah, I have some questions. This project was approved, I think, in August of 2021. I went back to my records. In any case, I believe we're being asked to respond to the result of an appeal. And because I think we signed the Mylars at the time of the original approval. So my questions are, why are we signing new Mylars? That's a somewhat rhetorical question. So my questions for discussion are, is what we're signing, has it been revised? Are they different than what we signed at the time of the original approval? And were those revisions the result of the appeal? If so, what changed? Were the changes reviewed with anyone on the planning board before they were agreed to? And who agreed to them? I'm assuming town council agreed to them, but I don't know that. Before I sign, is anyone going to explain, if there are changes, and I don't know if anyone... All right, well,
Please come up.
please come forward. I'm going to get all my questions on the record, and that, is anyone going to explain the changes? I want to know in what way,
I'm attorney Tom Gay. I represent the developer RESI LLC. I was the attorney for the petition.
original,
Yep.
yes. If there were changes and there was an agreement to change, in what way was our ruling deficient? And I want an explanation of how we were deficient so that we can learn from it. If so, doesn't this represent a modification to the subdivision, and don't we need to go through the modification process? If so, if there were changes, how do they relate to the bylaws? Are they still consistent with the bylaws and the subdivision rules and regulations at the time? And I'm being asked, I have not seen this Mylar, so I'm being asked to sign a document I've never seen, endorse a document for a plan that I have never reviewed. So I'm troubled.
Let's get into it.
Thank you. And if you want to recognize Mr.
I
Gay.
recognize him. I recognize him from the
Chairman.
last.
I recognize you from before.
Haven't aged too much. So to answer most of your questions, the answer is no, nothing on the plan has changed. The settlement, you're right, there was an appeal by an abutter through the fast-moving wheels of justice. It took a while to negotiate a settlement.
And that was all fine. That's,
Correct.
they're allowed to do that. I
Yep,
understand.
so, but to answer the underlying question is there has not been any change to the lot configuration, the roadway, anything that you approved as a board back in the date that you mentioned, and I apologize, it escapes me.
It was, yeah, it was 20, August, I think it was in August of 21, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right. I'm not sure if the board endorsed the plan after the last decision. A lot of times, they typically, my experience, they wait until the 20-day appeal period's told, and then the plan gets endorsed after that. Obviously, the appeal was filed, so there may or may not have been endorsement because nothing was ever recorded. The reason we need this plan endorsed now is because if the old one was endorsed, it would be stale at this point. The registry and the land court in this situation would want a more current Mylar stamped. The only thing that probably has changed on the plan is not substantive. The land court, this is all land court property, not registered land. They require certain monuments to be at the corners and the junctions of lots. So those monument markers, whether it's like a iron rod or a stone, have been marked on the plan. But the lot configuration, the design of the road, the drainage, there were no impacts from the settlement on any of those configurations. So the decision that you issued back then is still the decision of the land and is reflected on the plan.
Okay. Through you to the, so you said land court is adding monuments. We require a monument. Those are different than the monuments that we require in our subdivision?
Land court's different because,
Our monuments will still be there?
correct.
Okay.
So the land courts will have, they have very stringent standards of markers for lot delineation. Basically, if your deed is from a land court plan, your title and your lot shape is very, very well defined. So this plan actually, after you endorse it, goes up to Boston. It goes to the engineer's office in Boston. They review it. They stamp it in Boston. Then it gets shipped back down to us and we record it in Plymouth. So it's a multi-step process after the planning board.
Okay. You answered some of my questions. Was our finding in any way found deficient in the court?
So there was no, the parties reached a settlement, so there was no court verdict on the matter and never got to trial.
Okay.
Do we have copies of that settlement?
Your town council should have copies of it because you're a nominee party in the lawsuit. But I know it was provided to town council, and I have a copy of it in my file here.
I would assume we should have had a copy.
Yes, but
But the
I
town record should
request
have
that,
it.
I request that we get a copy as part of endorsing this.
I would have to agree. I mean, it's not that I just don't trust you, but the fact that you're
Yeah.
telling us this document exists doesn't mean it does until I see it.
The main component of the settlement had to do with an abutter and request that they had on how the subdivision could be run through like the homeowners association and things that may or may not occur on the property as to renting and things of that nature. But there weren't any changes to the plan.
Well, except that as part of our approval of the subdivision, we approved the form of the subdivision we approved the form of the association as part of the subdivision rules and regs.
Correct, but these are like noise and things above and beyond anything a town would ever weigh in on.
Have the details of the settlement concerning noise and renting and all that, has all that been noted in the new HOA?
HOA documents haven't been formalized yet because that it's coming after the Mylar is endorsed and it gets registered with the land court. So that's once we start getting lot releases, we have to have that information.
Right, and that, the HOA document will be attached to those deeds, right? So,
The original deed's out
Yeah.
of the subdivision.
yeah.
Yep.
Because we've had problems with people buying into subdivisions not knowing they were subject to HOA.
Yeah.
So just make sure that
Yep.
gets,
So before lots are released from the town for occupancy permits, those steps will have to be followed.
Okay.
Do you think this is something that Phil should look at? I mean, it's been 3 years.
it's for discussion with the board.
Yeah. Where the project is already 3 years old, what do you feel about asking Phil to just review the project as a whole and maybe review Charlie's notes and just make sure that nothing has detrimentally changed in the 3 years?
It's interesting, I mean, first response is I don't see any downside to that. I'd really be interested to know, though, what the basis for the litigation was. This is, entirely new to me, what the basis was.
I can
what
send you the
finding
appeal.
was.
I have a
Okay.
copy of the appeal.
Because I don't know what additional jurisdiction we have to exercise here, I guess, is where I'm coming down.
I would submit to the board that the decision that you entered at the previous date that was later appealed is the decision that we'll be recording with the Plymouth Registry of Land Court, and that decision is reflected on the Mylar that we're asking you to sign. If the Mylar differed from the decision, then it wouldn't be a enforceable subdivision plan, so we'd be putting ourselves at risk for submitting a plan that's not in conformance with that. I'd also submit that your role tonight is, there was an appeal filed. In the instance that there was not an appeal filed, the Mylar would have been endorsed as standard course and recorded. It wasn't. The parties settled. There was no court judgment. So we are basically reverting back to the decision that you voted on unanimously. So I think my opinion of what the process would be that the board would take a motion tonight to endorse that plan. And from there, we would take it to the land court along with the decision, and then to Plymouth for a recording there.
And
I was going to answer your question if you'd like, though.
Yes, then I was going to follow up with something for Phil.
So, Mr. Chair, I reread the appeal in preparation for the meeting tonight, and I'm not going to speak as an attorney, but the abutter challenged our jurisdiction. They challenged the fact that we did not seek a more robust traffic study. Robinwood Way is a very narrow road, and they were concerned about the impact of 7 new houses in the subdivision, and they challenged the time at which the traffic study was conducted, time of year, that it was conducted during COVID. They repeatedly challenged our jurisdiction, but I think they were also concerned, which I didn't think was relevant, but that the fact that one of the lots, maybe 2, because these will be elevated houses, which was not part of the subdivision plan at all. They are concerned about casting a shadow on their solar panels, which really wasn't part of the subdivision plan anyway. I mean, we don't know what the houses are going to look like. So those were the major takeaways. Did I miss anything that was substantive?
No, I apologize. I didn't mean to skim over that part of your question. I think through the litigation process and settlement, we've tried to put the aspects of the appeal and the dynamics of that behind us and trudge forward. So I didn't want to get into whether our opinion of their claims.
I was just merely summarizing
what you stated as to the issues they alleged in the complaint, I would say, are accurate.
Yeah, thank you, Carl, and that's really helpful, and thank you. I mean, the only thing I can think of, and I guess I would ask the question maybe of Phil and others on the board as to whether this is necessary, is that you've said it's the same plan. I guess my question would be, do we need someone to confirm that?
Yeah.
That it is in fact.
Normally, we would get Ken to confirm that. Is Ken on the phone?
No, Ken's not working.
Josh, can you confirm that?
I can review both the plans to make sure they're accurate with each other, sure.
So.
Oh, but you can't
at that point,
confirm-
We can't
you can't
confirm it
confirm it
tonight.
Confirm it tonight, no.
No, okay, and we don't have, I'd really like to have a copy of the settlement.
So I'd submit to the board that the settlement, unless it imposed some type of action on you or a change to the decision, then it would be relevant. There was no change to the decision. There was no change to the plan. So the
You're asking
terms-
us to make a determination based on a settlement.
I'm not. You had town council that was involved in
I
it. It
haven't
was
gotten, I haven't gotten any
stipulated.
indication from town council whatsoever
Okay.
concerning this project. Not one email.
Because there were no requirements of the town of Wareham or the planning board with respect to the settlement. It was basically you have an abutter and the developer.
We're not taking issue with you.
Yeah,
This is a complete
I understand.
surprise that you showed up tonight.
So my recommendation to the board would be that if your concern is the plans, because the decision stands, we're not asking anything to change the decision, so that's just going to be stamped in by the town clerk, which I believe has already happened once the appeal was dismissed, that if you have Mr. Faraday confirm that there has not been a change to the plan as part of your motion, and then you can endorse it in your normal course. But having continued meetings on it, I don't think is necessary, or the proper procedure.
Oh, I don't think you were talking about public hearings or anything. It was-
No.
No, for me personally, I would like two things. I would like a copy of the settlement added to the record for this project. It is part of the project. There was an abutter that contested it. There was a settlement. So it's all part of the record. It shouldn't be secret.
The settlement-
And then, let me finish, please.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is for either Phil or Josh to confirm that these Mylars are identical to the project that was approved 3 years ago. And we can't do that
Yeah,
tonight.
so to your question on the settlement agreement was between two parties. Part of the settlement agreement was the town would stipulate to dismiss because they're a necessary stipulation dismissal. They were not a party to the settlement as to the substantive terms of it.
But we were individually named as,
Correct. And
defendants.
your
So we have,
council stipulated to dismiss because there was not a requirement for the matter to go back to the board on a remand or for the decision to be amended.
if my name was on that settlement,
It's not.
the board wasn't noted as,
a party to the settlement.
The
Yeah.
settlement agreement release was between the two parties because it basically has to do with the arrangements that they have between each other from a business decision.
Yeah,
And is there any-
Go ahead, Sherry.
Is there any release of these members of the board from any liability related to this matter?
The appeal was dismissed with prejudice by all parties.
okay. So as soon as we see a copy of that to confirm, then we're great.
Yep, the town has copies of
But I don't.
everything with the stipulation dismissal with record.
I mean-
So I have a copy of it here if you would
The
like
rest
to
of the
see.
board
We
can
should
act as
we
they
should
feel.
apologize to the applicant, because what we're struggling with is not,
It's not his fault.
it's not his fault.
But he's still pressing for a signature on a Mylar that, as far as I'm concerned, my own personal opinion, I'm not signing it.
Your collateral damage.
Yeah.
I want to add just a quick piece of information. That approval wasn't in August of '21, it was in February of '22.
Okay, I,
February 28th, we
So we're
approved
2
it.
years old.
February 28th, 2022.
it went that long? Okay, because
Psst, in my notes here.
that's okay.
That project
I'm
did
not going
go
to
for a
challenge that.
while.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
just,
there was 8 or 9 public hearings on it.
Yeah, I know
Took a while.
it was, it was involved.
so then we can make sort of a multi-part motion. I move that we request that a copy of the settlement be provided to the board for our review, and if appropriate, it can be made part of the record, and if it's not appropriate with advice of counsel, we won't make it part of the record. I also move that we request that the planning office just confirm that there's no changes.
That the new Mylars are the same as
It's
the old.
consistent with what we approved, and I request that we could either put this on the agenda quickly for next Monday night, if you wanted to just, wait, I can make the motion.
You can make the motion. I've already told the planning office, there's one subject on Monday night, and that's it.
Okay, well, the agenda hasn't been posted, but, okay.
Yeah, it has.
Why do we have to be live to sign it?
We don't,
No, we don't. We can go into the planning office. Yeah.
but we need to take a vote on it. we need to schedule a vote, and the applicant, in fairness to the applicant, we shouldn't drag this out. That's all I was trying to do was,
So you're undermining my insertion that there was one thing only on that meeting.
okay, but then we could have a meeting on the 22nd, which you won't be at.
I won't be here.
But we've had meeting, planning board, we
Okay,
didn't,
do you think, Josh, do you think you could review the Mylars in time to confirm that they're identical to the old ones by Monday? And do you think that you could either have a conversation with Mr. Bowen or do it yourself?
Yeah.
Get a copy of the settlement to the planning office so that it can be distributed to the board?
I will speak with town council, and if he feels that whatever documents he feels are necessary for the board's review, I'll have him get them to you in time.
okay.
Okay, then I will acquiesce to your request and we can put it on for Monday.
And the only item would be to vote either to approve or not approve the Mylar based on the
Based on
information.
Josh's input.
And I don't think there's any need for Attorney Gay to be present.
No, well, I mean, it's a Zoom meeting, he can be
do
on
Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
be there,
I'll
but
log on.
I'm not suggesting that you.
Well, we're not gonna be present, so it wouldn't be fair to him to be present.
I'll come sit in the room if he wants to be.
All right, go ahead, make your motion then.
Okay. So I move that we request confirmation of the settlement from town council in whatever form
He
he
deems
he
appropriate.
feels appropriate. And he should be aware that some of us are persnickety about how the wording of that is often presented. It needs to be clear that he's telling us that it's appropriate. And that we request Mr. Faraday to give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, that their material are the same, and that we request Sonia to add an agenda item for Thursday the 15th. For Monday the 15th.
Monday the 15th.
This is probably not proper corporate form, but I think what you really want is the dismissal of the litigation against you individually. That's,
I have a copy of that here. I could share it and bring copies for everyone. It's, Sonia has this, the town clerk has it, so I
Okay,
assume
so
it's part of the records.
she can add it to the documents that she'll forward to us then.
Great.
Because I believe we already have the certification from the town clerk of the appeal being dismissed, which I believe.
Unfortunately, none of
yeah.
that flowed to us.
Yep, I understand. Make my argument.
Okay.
No, and we acknowledge
Yeah.
that most of this is internal process to us. So that's my motion, that we take action on Monday, the 15th.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Sherry,
as a.
I believe you can vote on this.
Well, if I can vote, my vote is aye. If I can't vote, I would have voted aye if I could vote.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we're in the, I'm pretty sure we're in the clear on this one. Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam? Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you for your time tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming. We're thrilled to see you. Welcome back.
Hopefully we have some projects here soon. Take care.
Okay, next up, continued public hearings, 22-23 NStar Electric Company, DBA EverSource Energy, special permit site plan review, 37 Doty Street. Phil, I'm gonna be leaning on you pretty hard on this one. Do you want to take a chair, or?
We did get just to note, we got a late update from Phil on.
Today.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I have not,
I
I
glazed.
cursorily reviewed.
Yeah, I did the same. We have 3 of those. No, it's one set. Thanks. We have 3.
Can you read that into the record then? What are we looking at?
We all sharing this one?
Sure.
See if I can find the date on it. Okay, so presented is a copy of the site plan for EverSource Energy, 37 Doty Street, Wareham, Mass. Latest revision is March 27, 2024. Yes, sir. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you all as well. My name is Brian Potvin with Civil and Environmental Consultants. I'm a civil engineer, project manager, representing the applicant on this site plan review process.
My name is Brian Miller. I'm with CHK Architects, representing EverSource.
And I'm Anthony Valou. I'm Community Relations for EverSource for Wareham.
So we submitted a set of design documents for review. We received a couple of continuances over the past several months. We received one comment letter from the city's peer review, third-party review engineer. We responded to those comments, and we've since received a second round of comments, which we also responded to and updated our documents accordingly. Those are the documents that you have in front of you here. Did just receive a third letter that had a couple of other comments from Mr. Cordero, and happy to, at the pleasure of the board, kind of go through the project if you'd like, or we could stick to addressing any comments that you might have, or input on these responses, whatever you'd like us to do.
You should read this into
Yeah,
the
that's, I
record.
was just getting there. So the peer review and the comments from you, and then the follow-up with Mr. Cordero is dated March 27, 2024, addressed to Mr. Kenneth Buckland, Director of Planning and Community Development. Where we got these really late today, Philip, if you could, maybe we'll start with this, just to bring us up to speed.
Well, this is the one before today, right? This is the, he sent one
We
in.
don't have the rules one?
No. Peer review 3 came in today like 4 o'clock or something.
From my office, it
Yes.
did, very late in the day after
Was late.
speaking with the applicant's engineer, yes.
Okay, so, let me find that one right here. Here it is. Okay, so the document that Mr. Cordero was going to be talking to is dated April 5, 2024. So,
That's correct, yes. Mr. Chair, we've been working with the applicant in reviewing the materials that they've been providing through the board. And as you noted, the last letter they issued was March 27, 2024, with accompanying plans. And in there, they did resolve a number of the technical issues that we had raised regarding stormwater management, regarding additional landscaping on site, regarding operation and maintenance, and a number of other relatively basic technical matters, but they did address them satisfactorily. The letter that we issued today basically outlines a handful of matters that are still open and ongoing, and then also is intended to raise a couple of issues for the board's ultimate determination as to how you would want to act on this application. So just moving down the letter, the first one of note for the board's input ultimately is that the applicant is proposing to remove all of the current curbed islands that exist around the former cinema parking lot. In doing so, they would no longer be in compliance with Section 1060 parking lots of the zoning bylaws. There'd be no interior landscaping elements any longer. We raised that for the board to consider as to whether or not they would want additional landscaping on site, whether that's an acceptable practice for them or not. From a technical matter, they've addressed it relative to the stormwater, how runoff is controlled. They've identified that they need it for their operational controls or in their training platform for the employees, but simply at the end of the day, it just will not comply with the bylaw. They've not requested a waiver of this board to address that. So I raised that for the board to think about, and that's comment 2 on our letter dated today. Comment 7 There is a typographic deficiency in their HydroCAD stormwater calculations. It's very minor, but it's been an ongoing issue that hasn't been rectified despite the comment that it had been. I spoke to the applicant's engineer today, Mr. Potvin, and just alerted him to very specifically where it needs to be edited as part of cleaning up the record. It is insubstantial in nature. It's not going to change the intent of the application. It's just technical clarity on the materials. Comment number 18 is relative to the stormwater management basin that's on site. They're looking to make modifications to the existing stormwater basin. We've been, I guess, admittedly putting them through their paces on making sure the basin is in compliance with the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook and the Town of Wareham bylaws. They have provided some updated information relative to how the basin is to be constructed, how they're handling it for stormwater, but it falls short on how they intend to provide ongoing maintenance for the basin, which is in a very limited area of the site. There's no direct access to it. We've been asking the applicant to provide some additional detail to make sure that the basin is thoughtfully maintained on a yearly basis and those records are kept, rather than constructing a basin that would no longer be maintained and ultimately could be prone to failure. Our conversation today has indicated that they can provide the additional detail and that this board should have that for record before making a decision on the application, or if you wanted to render a decision on the application, render it as a condition to any approval from the board. Comment number 21 continues to discuss stormwater management on site. Given that the site is previously developed, there is a very large and robust ongoing stormwater management system. Very little discussion took place in the application as to whether or not that system is currently, whether it's been reviewed or not, whether it's been maintained or not. We're just requesting and bringing to the board's attention that that should be reviewed. An inspection should be conducted before additional flows go to it as part of the EverSource application. And we'd suggest that could simply be a condition of approval for the board to consider. Condition number 21.
That was 21. Right?
I'm sorry, excuse me, 21. That was 21. I apologize for jumping numbers on you. Apologies for that. Moving to condition 23. We raised during the review asking for additional operational detail on the number of concrete pads that are on site, the various activities within the training areas. Not so much in that we would necessarily need to be privy to how EverSource plans to operate their training facility, but a number of these areas do drain directly into their stormwater management system. And we asked for additional detail to make sure there were no pollutants and oils or other sediments that will ultimately go in and could foul the system. They did provide a response in their second review letter saying the concrete pads will provide for various devices and transformers, quote, devices and transformers. We just note whether that's sufficient for the board to render a decision on the application, or if you would want more information. Transformers, in our experience, and EverSource could likely speak more to this, some of them contain oils, some of them do not. If part of the training exercise is what to do when there's an oil leak, we just want to make sure that the stormwater management systems are adequately protected, especially given that they are in very, very close proximity to wetland resource areas. So the application just doesn't really provide a whole lot of detail along that regard. Comment number 25 is again an ongoing comment, specifically item C. They are showing, in terms of the technical stormwater compliance, an increase in the peak rate of runoff during the 100-year storm event to the wetland resource area directly adjacent to the project. Originally, it was an increase of 2 CFS. Under the latest revision, it's now an increase of 3 CFS. To be very clear on this matter, the stormwater management standards, the state standards, can allow for an increase at the 100-year storm level if it's documented that there's no likelihood of downstream flooding. And these folks have provided a response that there is a wetland resource area that is unlikely to experience flooding given that relative de minimis increase, and we would agree with that. Where it does fall short, though, is the Town of Wareham zoning bylaw, specifically Section 1267, simply states that post-development discharge rates may not exceed pre-development. So it's been our opinion that the local regulation trumps the state regulation, which therefore would limit them to be below or at the existing rate of runoff for the 100-year storm event. And we've asked the applicant to review whether or not additional modifications can be made to the stormwater basin to meet that standard. And as of yet, they've not done that. Comment number 27 is tangentially related to 25C. There is a design requirement in terms of stormwater detention basins that there'd be 1 foot of additional freeboard provided for stormwater basins. What freeboard is, it's the distance between the top of the berm and the maximum theoretical water elevation to make sure there's excess capacity in the event of any sort of failure or clogging or back-to-back storm events. Under the revised design, the applicant would not have that 1 foot of freeboard. They have laid claim that because it's a redevelopment, they're afforded certain opportunities to not meet all of the standards. But I note back to them under the updated comment in 27 that under redevelopment, they are required to provide an improvement over existing conditions and meet standards to the maximum extent practicable, unless they can outline why they can't meet those standards. And they've not done that through these 2 peer reviews. So we would note for the board that they should consider making some modifications to that stormwater and retain that volume as much as possible on site. Short of that, they've addressed the other matters. So there's really 2 buckets for the board to consider. One, some lingering technical matters that the engineer would like to still review. But the others are matters that the board has to determine whether they're important to you, whether you need additional information on that we could review for you, or whether or not you can craft a condition that you are satisfactorily okay with the materials as provided to date.
Thank you. It seems to me like a lot of this concerns water and wetlands. Do you need to weigh in on this at all, Josh?
We already approved it.
You have. So you have no concerns over?
Any concerns we have were addressed in the order of conditions that we issued.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, on that point, I don't believe the planning board has yet to receive that order of conditions.
Yeah, we haven't seen it.
You can get it tomorrow.
Okay, it just needs to be part of the record in order for us to.
Totally fair.
That was one of my questions. So in general, what did the order of conditions say? You don't,
I can't speak to it accurately enough.
you don't remember if you had any concerns about flooding or?
No.
Okay. I'll read the order of conditions when it comes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was one of my questions.
Okay. Would you like to weigh in and respond to Mr. Cadero's comments about what we've just discussed?
Sure, yeah, happy to. Maybe we could start with the first comment, comment about the parking lot islands. It was never EverSource's intention to preserve those internal landscaped islands for a variety of reasons. One, maybe the most significant reason, is that in addition to being used primarily as a training facility, this location will be used as an emergency response location for extreme power outage responses. So as part of this application, we did submit a parking plan during those emergency response times, which will be managed by EverSource in terms of the line trucks being able to come in and circulate throughout the site, but they really need to have free reign of the parking area in order for their trucks to easily maneuver and get out to the emergencies quickly. That's kind of the primary reason why removing the islands is important.
Did that, pardon me for interrupting. Sure. Did that decision come up later? Because I don't remember that conversation in the original plans being
Yep, we
submitted.
brought this up in an informal meeting with the town departments, police, fire,
That's not us.
planning. I thought planning, yep, Ken was there.
I don't
That
know.
doesn't count.
I'm just sharing, we've communicated that to the town.
This is the first we've heard of it, that's why I'm bringing it up. Because
Gotcha.
I didn't remember this conversation when you first came before us.
Mr.
Yep.
Chair, the problem is we can't waive that requirement. That's a variance.
Okay. well,
I believe it's in the bylaw, right, Mr. Cudero?
Yes, section 1062.
And I think we can't waive that. That requires a variance. And I'm not arguing with I'm a procedure kind of guy, so I'm not
Gotcha.
arguing with
Okay. Well,
with your rationale. It makes perfect sense. I just don't know what we can do with that.
yeah, okay. Noted. If you want to continue.
Yep, and so some of the other ancillary reasons for wanting to remove the parking lot islands is we know that the requirement, or the intention of the requirement is for public spaces to break up big seas of pavement within things like shopping centers and office parks and other things that the public will visit. This use, even when it's run as a training facility every day, will be gated and access controlled to EverSource and their employees coming to the training. So the public benefit of having the additional landscaping is, I guess, less of an issue and maybe a point to, we had put in one of the responses that we were seeking relief from the requirement, not appreciating that it was a waiver that this board could issue or a variance.
Mr. Chair, through you to either Mr. Cudero or Jai, is it a variance, or do you read into that we have the latitude to, is that one of those subjective requirements? I read it as we have to get a variance, but I tend to be very, I understand your rationale. The question is, do you think we have the latitude?
I think you may. I don't know how you handled these matters in the past.
So I agree. I think you have the latitude also to grant it as a waiver from the bylaw from the landscaping here as well.
Then I withdraw my concern about a variance if the board agrees with the reading of that.
I think it's something they need to make it work.
He sold me on the reason behind doing it. My question is, do we have the authority to grant that?
Our interpretation, for what it's worth, is that you do. For what it's worth.
Of course.
This has been part of the project right from the beginning, and I mentioned the administrative meeting that we had with the departments, and we specifically talked about this item, and the advice, building department was there, and all the other town departments, and it wasn't brought up that we needed to seek a variance, but that we should ask for relief from that requirement.
And I will say, I did attend that meeting, and Ken had no concerns about it.
I'll defer to the board.
Yeah, unfortunately, that information was not disseminated to the board.
Understood?
Could I go on to the next
Yep.
couple of
Please.
points? I think the rest relate to stormwater management system, and we did incorporate several enhancements to the existing stormwater drainage system, which include stormwater quality units prior to discharge, and we're looking to make some modifications to the existing pond, really trying to minimize the footprint of that pond, but to make some tweaks and modifications to better treat the runoff and to accommodate the additional flows to it, but really trying to be sensitive to our limited disturbance. But item number 7, it is an administrative item, and like Mr. Cordero said, We just have to update our stormwater analysis software system to plug in 3.55 rather than 3.2, and it won't substantially change the calculations, but we have to make that adjustment. Number 18, relative to the access to the existing pond. On the last version that you see, we did add a gate at the end of one of the training areas, which we didn't have on there in the first time around. The pond is right in here that we're talking about, making sure that we have access to maintain this.
Excuse me, what page are you on?
This is sheet 200, but it's shown on C300 and C400 as well, but I'm looking at C200 right now, and it's in the bottom right part, where the existing stormwater pond is in through here. This is one of the gravel outside training areas, and we did add a gate at the end of the training area so that access to the pond for maintenance would be gained there.
It's gonna be easily visible from the street, and you're gonna be right on top of it.
Probably better to look at C300. You can see the grades of the pond and everything.
How are you gonna, shade from the public view the beautiful 7-foot-high chain link fence with the barbed wire on top?
Along Doty Street?
Yeah.
We do have if you look at the landscaping plan, we do propose to put in some new plantings, essentially all along Doty Street, along the project frontage.
That are 7 or 8 foot high? What kind of plantings?
They're mixed. A series of trees and shrubs along Doty Street. Tried to cluster them.
Juniper. These here are juniper.
Those are juniper, these are white pine. These are maples.
Red maple are the trees, white pine, white oak. And the trees are about 6 to 7 feet high.
But they don't extend the full length.
Yeah, does it
They
go?
stop just after sort of the lower left-hand corner of the detention basin.
Yep, and we could look at that.
Yeah.
This continues all the way
Yeah,
to here.
we would definitely want to
beyond this
shade that.
There are some plantings within the existing edge of pavement and the property line, also on Doty Street. Like, we'd look to, of course, maintain any existing vegetation between the EverSource property line and the edge of pavement on Doty Street. Preserve all of that.
I would think that the plantings would definitely have to continue all the way down. And it's indicating junipers? Are these? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it is.
Yeah.
It's juniper.
Yeah.
Are these the same junipers that you're using for the solar array over behind Target?
I don't know. You mean EverSource?
I'm not sure. We're not involved with that project, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much a monoculture, and they haven't done very well.
No.
Yeah, and the landscape plan actually stopped short of the what's the name there?
North is like basically up sheet.
Easternmost end of where your fencing is. It stops short of that. If we look at C200, the fencing continues. The fencing continues further to the east on C200 than is shown. It looks like it just got cut off on C700. Where's the fencing? It continues back this way.
Yeah, so there's actually, quite a stretcher, because the
Yeah, it
The
continues
screening
beyond
stopped.
the end of the basin.
the screening basically stopped here, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is quite a stretch well past the gate that you're talking about, where there is no indication of screening, so
Yeah.
that would definitely be something we would be looking at.
Okay.
And
Do you see where the access to the pond is? I just want to make sure we're good on that.
That was
we did see,
There's
the
a
gate, the
there's a
double gate.
Right here. So the site is gated at the main entrance. That's controlled access, and there's also gates internal to the site for each of the training areas that'll also be controlled by EverSource only. And the access to we added a gate here at the end of this row for,
Oh, I see it.
to maintain the pond, for people to be able to get in and out of there. It was a good comment, because we didn't incorporate that, being
Then
able to
there's
get through the
also-
fence.
Sorry to interrupt. There's also
Sure.
a gate on Doty Road.
Yep,
So there's one right here. Like, that's kind of hard to see because of the
Correct.
gravel.
and we added that gate just in case, like, they needed to maintain the outlet structure before discharge. If that were to get clogged, it might be easier to get at that from Doty Street.
Sam? I guess the only other question that popped into my head is, you're gonna use it as a staging area for emergencies, which makes sense. I mean, it's a big space, can fit a lot of trucks there. How much supplies are gonna be stored there in the way of transformers and things of that nature? You know, I'm gonna assume you're gonna have stock staged there in event of an emergency.
Yep. There is an outdoor storage area outside of the existing cinema building. This will be fenced in also, and so the main intention of this space
Right.
is for material storage, and that'll be fenced in and controlled as
So
well.
just back to Chairman Kent, I believe at a previous meeting, you talked about the whole logistics planning for emergency situation. You're not planning to store material for emergency response
No,
outside. That would all be delivered at the time of an emergency.
correct.
Is that your question?
That was my question.
That was my understanding.
Correct.
Would not be stored there.
So you're not
This
gonna
isn't a
have,
warehouse.
you're
This
not
is
gonna
a,
have 300 transformers sitting there waiting for an emergency of epic proportion.
no, that's not the intention. This is primarily a training facility, and it'll be used as a indoor and outdoor training facility every day.
As I remember it, someone presented a very exhaustive explanation of how you stage and deploy for an emergency. And my understanding was all of that would be delivered just in time.
Correct. Basically, the setup will be when there's a storm, they will set up as an ERP function, which just primarily used as a transition place for the linemen to come in, settle there, get their orders, and disperse as they're needed. And they come there at night, drop the truck off, they get bused to the hotels, they come back next morning, continue the operation, and they'll provide basically a food and a place for just relaxing before they go out to the next order and so on.
So if there are supplies that are required, that's all
Correct.
just-in-time inventory, it comes in.
And they'll
They
bring it
bring
with
it
them.
into the inventory, stage it in the material logistics area, and they will pick it up as needed and get out to the
That was
sites.
my that's why I was
Okay.
That was my understanding, the explanation, that would not be stockpiled.
Jane? I'm sorry, Sherry?
Thank you. Just to confirm, I think we talked about this at an earlier point, but something that Phil said jogged my memory. You have described a series of concrete pads.
Yes.
And we've seen in some prior applications before the planning board for solar projects that those ended up being battery storage facilities. And just want to confirm that you are not intending to place battery storage facilities on those pads or anything else of a potentially hazardous nature.
That's the intention, correct. They're not going to be used for material or battery storage. This is going to be a functioning training site where they want to use these pads to train their employees. So that's the function of what these pads are. They're not a storage area.
What would be on the pad, though?
The pad's going to be pretty much primarily used as everyday function, similar to what's on the street, transformers, any additional equipment that it's like substation equipment and stuff like that.
That they
So-
practice on.
Correct.
It's setting up real-world conditions that folks can learn
So kind of like
hands-on.
what's over at Doty Street now on the corner?
Some of that, yes.
Yeah.
Some of that.
And none of that has hazardous materials?
No, pretty much all their transformers now filled with mineral oil rather than any hazardous oil. They kind of went from that route.
Do we have specs? I mean, we are right there next to wetlands. It would be nice if we could get specs on the transformers or any of the equipment that's intended to be put on those pads where the proximity is pretty close to the wetlands and the catch basin. That would be, I think we had good information to have.
That's all I had.
That's it? Very disappointed. Mike?
You said you're going to do transformers there, right? How about the old ones, if you have old transformers come in for training or whatever purposes? What are you going to do about PCPs?
They don't hold those in this site for transformer. They basically, that goes to the service centers, old transformers. This is just, again, training purpose.
Yeah.
And they have other sites who deal with the PVC content of the old transformers. That's a service area. This is a whole different area that basically only for training purpose only. So they will not be bringing it into this site because this site doesn't have the protocol to handle that hazardous material, so it should not be going there.
You're going to refuel your trucks there on site?
Correct. During the ERP function, yes, they're going to be coming in with their diesel truck to fill them up.
So you guys are going to put in-ground tanks or above ground?
There's no tanks. The truck will come in and deliver it and then leave. Just to also let you know that their protocol is basically, when this happens, they have clean hovers on a standby, and they also notified the state DEP that they're going to be fueling.
Before fueling takes place?
Correct.
Not after
No.
an incident?
Before the fueling takes place, they're going to notify them that this tonight, they're going to be fueling up for the trucks, and they, again, have clean hovers on a standby, as well as notifying the DEP that this is going to happen.
Again, this is just during the emergency response use.
So, well, I'm assuming you're gonna have a number of trucks that are there that are just part of the ongoing training. You know,
Perhaps.
they're never gonna leave the facility. They're always just gonna be there for the guys to train on.
There's going to be some trucks there's going to be left behind, but it's going to be few trucks that they're going to use for actual training purposes. Majority of the vehicles that's going to be there is from people who's going to be coming on during the morning for the training and leave at end of the day.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
I think we should put somewhere in here condition for trash pickup. You know,
Are you talking about during the ERP function?
No, all doing, after the project's done. We do all these plazas and stuff, they put fences in this and that. Go to Walmart, that place looks like a dump. The entrance coming in, there's trash everywhere. And, you guys got plenty of money, I think you can have a crew up there to keep it
You're
clean.
you're talking about wind-blown trash.
Eversource
Well,
plans
Doty
to...
Street's a crosscut, so it gets, guys coming home with a beer and a nip out the window, you know?
Yeah.
No, that's basically a protocol they have, their employees can't do that, and they have
Not the
dumpsters.
employees, I'm talking about people coming on Doty Street.
Oh, I mean, we could address to the EverSource that, that's a daily maintenance kind of issue. They could have a protocol that basically they need to clean up the sites and maintain it. But as a regular function, they're gonna maintain dumpsters within inside, and as well as during the ERP function, they're gonna bring in outside dumpsters come in, so when they do have materials they need to recycle and so on, they're gonna have, upwards of, 4 or 5 dumpsters that each will have different materials that get recycled and so on.
But you're talking about maintaining the fence line.
Yeah.
For aesthetics.
We're fine with that, yep. They understand the need to maintain their site, not only the stormwater treatment features, but trash
All
and
the way
everything.
across where the bog is too, I think there's tires, mattresses, a couple of recliners in there now.
Is there now?
Oh, yeah, there's all stuff there. It's a shortcut, there's no lights, no houses.
I think what's
By
been
Mr. Patch's
happening,
house, And they just flip it over on the
correct,
side.
I think what's been happening is that prior to EverSource started occupying it, there were some delinquents who went in, kind of did some damage to the building and so on. Since then, when the interior construction started, they maintain a fence line now. There has a construction fence line, so it's very difficult to get in there and start dumping stuff again. And there's construction guys there daily, so they also keep an eye on it. And once the EverSource occupy it, I'm sure public's gonna have no access to it because there's gonna be a perimeter fence line and a gate system to get in there, or with car reader access only.
How about on the other side of the fence? That's what I'm talking about, between the fence.
He's
and the
talking
wall.
on the street side,
Between
On the
fence
street
and
side?
wall.
just to keep it.
Correct.
Yeah, fence
And
is
again,
wall.
this going on with the ongoing maintenance issue with the trash along the perimeter fence line. I'm sure they're gonna be keeping an eye on it. If there's something that gets stumped, they will clean it.
The applicant's fine with putting in a condition.
Yeah,
Because
that'll be a condition.
Sure.
Sure.
right by the intention call, right, okay, I'll leave it go, never mind.
No, you're right, because
No,
your
you got a good
comment
point.
about other large
Because the
developments.
fence stops right at the retention pond. If you're over, it's all wetlands. And like I said, there's quite a bit of junk in there, all the time. The town picks it up from time to time, and if you guys own the property, you should be the steward of it,
We'll definitely make that note to EverSource that they need to continue and maintain it.
Yeah, okay, I'm okay.
Jane?
I'm good.
Actually, I have one more question.
Sure.
Since, Anthony, we haven't heard from you. Wondered if, what process that EverSource is thinking about following with respect to its plan to build out the system to accommodate increases in load, attachment, interconnection essentially of solar. Do you have plans for sort of laying that out for people here, people in Wareham, so that we can begin to understand what you have in mind? I know I've seen
Is that subject to a different project, or is this project?
it's a completely different,
Yeah,
I'm asking him because.
Okay,
he's
I'm sorry, I wasn't
yeah.
sure if you were pertaining to this particular project.
Not as far as I know. If you're part of the build-out, I'd be interested in that, but it sounds like you're for emergency preparedness and for training.
Correct. We will have a couple of solar panels on the building itself for training purpose only.
So you're talking about the meeting you sat in about 10 days ago with Serped?
Yes.
Sure. So on this Thursday, we, Group 1 open houses, Group 1 the DER project, distributed energy resources, 4 substations, Rochester, Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Acushnet. So in that group, we have some public meetings on the 11th, the 16th, and we have a virtual one on the 16th and one on the 18th. So I'll share with you all that information.
Great.
Yeah, that's perfect for that, and open to the public, really for those towns, but more than welcome to come.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I felt like since you were here, you should have.
Oh, totally, yeah, no, I'll take all the softballs, just send them my way.
Okay, where did we leave off on the list?
We were on,
I think we completed item 23 with the pads.
yep, So then we're back to stormwater, kind of two related points about the 100-year storm event, the peak rate actually being higher than existing, and the amount of freeboard or amount of extra room we have in the pond. And our, kind of response to the earlier comments is that we were generally trying to minimize the footprint of the existing pond and as much as possible with still complying to the maximum extent practicable, meeting the DEP requirements for stormwater management. The 100-year flood event, big storm, that will have a 3 CFS, cubic feet per second, increase into this discharge point, and we did run some calculations on just the wetland system on site to see what that additional flow in the 100-year event, what it would do in that wetland, and it does raise the elevation a few inches within this wetland. It's somewhat of a conservative calculation just to show that we wouldn't be having an increase on flooding on Doty Street or on our site or on any neighboring properties. But this wetland system actually does tie to all of the bogs, even off-site. So they're all kind of hydraulically connected so that if there's only an inch increase or a few inch increase on this wetland elevation-wise during that large event, in reality, it's going to be something much less than that because the wetland system is much larger and can accommodate some additional flow. But we did some calculations just to show specifically on here that we don't think that it's going to have a material impact on any flooding of ourselves or Doty Street or the abutters. But we're happy to take a look at making some adjustments to the pond so that we can comply with that, so that the 100-year storm event flow out is equal to or less than the existing condition. It just would involve expanding the pond a little bit to give us some more volume. Really, our only area is kind of back in through here to make this a little bit bigger. So we could do that and accommodate that. We ran some calcs this afternoon after we had gotten the letter from Phil to see if it was possible or if it was impossible. And we think we can make some adjustments by making the stormwater pond a little bit bigger. Again, we hesitated doing that because it is close to the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland area. So we think the pond as designed is functional and meets the DEP requirements. But and we incorporated several enhancements in terms of stormwater quality units are all now in, and we're putting in sediment forebays and other stormwater quality treatment devices to mitigate our new impact. So we think our design is practical, but doesn't meet the letter of the law to the town of Wareham bylaw, but we can make some accommodations if the board would like us to do that.
It would be appreciated if you could have another look at it.
Yep.
If they make a change to that basin, will it negatively impact your findings from conservation?
Only negative impact would be they'd have to come for an amended order of conditions because they're modifying the plan.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, that would be, I think that would be appreciated, hate to sound like a twit, but the law is the law, and you either make it or you don't.
Not a twit. You're just doing my job.
That covers the response, I think, because they are related. By making the pond a tad bigger, we could accommodate the 1 foot of freeboard. That covers comments 25 and 27.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So, Does anybody else have anything?
I think we covered all my questions.
Look, it's a public hearing, we have a neighbor that may want to
Right, you know, I just wanted to make sure the
Okay.
board had their shot at 'em.
Double check my questions here. Butters list. Talked about all those. You covered all of mine.
Okay, all right, so having no more questions or concerns from the board, or is there anybody in the public audience, seeing that this is a public hearing, that would like to comment or weigh in, either in person or via Zoom? Ms. Schwartz?
I think they're gonna want me to speak.
Oh, sure. You want to see?
Listen, I'd rather be part of the crowd, anyway. Tricia Wirtz, 30 Taft Street resident. I have just a couple of comments to look at, and the first is, you have stated as a board that you really don't want to know what type of training is being done. I do have a question on some of those pads where there be actually live battery setups, solar battery setups.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number one.
There's no live battery set, but there is also, just to let you know, there will be a live electrical wire set up, so they could train them on a live wire.
Right, but it's not, you're not going to have a battery setup where there could be a chance of runoff, electrical
No.
runoff, et cetera. Thank you, that's good. The second point that I want to make is your company, fortunately or unfortunately, has decided to put the facility at the corner of County Road and 28th, Route 28. And right now, there was a meeting held via Zoom a couple of weeks ago. We have a building situation there that you will impact it, what your organization is doing, and others will. But so on one side, you have the EverSource training center and dispatch center for emergency times. On the other side, there is a plan to put in 208 residential houses, which probably equates to about 400 cars. If you go further, I guess it's west on County Street, there is a plan in front of this board that hasn't been accepted or approved yet or not, but I think there are, it's either 56 or 64 56 housing units there, and we're talking about probably another 100 cars there, and you've got two little country roads now, and at that cross-section, you have over 500 vehicles that could be going in and out of there at one time. It's almost impossible to move that traffic pretty quickly. And additionally, further down 28, there's going to be a lot of, from what I understand from Rochester, storage facilities put up, and a lot more big truck traffic. So I would just ask this board and any of the people, the companies who are handling one of those projects, look at how your traffic is going to impact the town, and how is that traffic going to impact what you need to do. And so how the state or the town and the various organizations get together and try and really work out what will be the best answer from traffic flow, that would be much appreciated. I know your company for years has done lots of work in this area, so I feel it's reasonable to bring it up at this table.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. If I can get out without falling over.
There you go.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Eric Lentilla, 15 Squirrel Island Road, Wareham. Just a few questions. On listening to a lot of the guarantees of what won't be or what will be on this site, it's gated, like it's barbed wired, I guess, too. I'm wondering, I question about the oversight, though, of the facility. Being in a sensitive area next to the wetlands, they're talking about a lot of this equipment, but it's not going to, these type of transformers, there'll be diesel trucks, there'll be fuel. What kind of oversight, other than their own oversight, guarantees of how this facility will be run and conducted over time? That's one thing. So I'm just wondering about oversight. When it comes to their, the landscaping, I have issues. This is on a major road, Doty Road. If this is anything like the landscaping on Tobia Road, adjacent to their EverSource's solar field, I question their ability to maintain even their landscaping. So just, you know, again, who's responsible, you know, until we make a lot of calls and then they finally come out and cut the grass out there on Tobia Road. I'm just, and again, with the landscaping, the type of shrubs, the trees, it's kind of sketchy of what's been suggested. The type of landscaping on Tobia Road is an example. I'd rather see plastic trees. They look better than what they put in there. So I just, the landscaping and what's the oversight of what's going to actually happen on this facility over time? Where are the guarantees that what they're stating tonight will be in place as far as transformers, electricals, diesel, fuel, et cetera?
Thank you, Eric. Is there anybody else in the, online or in the building? No? Okay. Hearing none and seeing none. I think we covered a lot. I think you've got some items to address as far as in reference to Mr. Cordero's comments. How much time do you think you need to address those comments?
To address the stormwater comments?
Stormwater,
Talked about.
I mean, we still need to verify, it's your, it wasn't a rock-solid opinion that we have the ability to grant the waiver on the parking islands. I mean, you almost sounded like a lawyer there for a second.
We should vet that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I mean, to Carl's point, I understand getting rid of them, it makes perfect sense. We just need to verify that this board has the authority to do that, or if we just need to refer you to the ZBA to just take care of that little detail before you come back. So stormwater, the islands, the screening along Doty Road, along the perimeter of that fence, especially screening the barbed wire. I mean, I don't want to be riding down any road looking at barbed wire. That's not a good look for the town, regardless of what you're trying to protect behind it. And to Mr. Lantana's point, the landscaping on Tobia Road has been a sore spot for us. I myself have complained several times about the 3-foot-high grass and the dead trees, and that was never taken care of until this project came before us. And then, like 2 weeks before the first hearing, the trees got replaced. So somebody was paying attention to business. But it has, and that's a small section. I mean, it's only a 300-400 foot stretch, but it was just, you know, basically ignored, for the lack of a better way of putting it. So, the landscaping along the perimeter for sure, so that the residents of town don't have to look at that barbed wire. Because it's a little country road, but it gets used like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, It's a well-traveled path. So your modification of the stormwater basin is gonna trigger some input from conservation. So we would need that as well. And then, I don't know how to Tricia's point, I do understand the traffic concern, but here's my problem with it. An extra 400 or 500 cars a day, yeah, that's a problem, for sure. The project on County Road hasn't been approved yet, so I don't think we can count those cars, because we don't know if that's gonna come into existence.
And then the other projects in Rochester.
And the other projects outside of our jurisdiction, so.
But this is all state roads. The state should be doing
Yeah, what is
regional traffic
what is the
study.
mechanism by which we can have or even trigger
Traffic
the
study.
state looking at the cumulative effects of these multiple projects that are being proposed in the area, in different towns? And
There's a Route 28 corridor plan
There
that's,
is, there's
There
a
is?
study going on by Serpide of that.
okay,
I guess, I would want to know what you all think about this, because it's going to be vitally important for you to be able to get where you need to be during emergency response,
Right.
and everybody's
And I
going to
think
want
that was the reason that this site was chosen, because it's pretty vital that it's kind of right near the highway to getting on and off. I know we recognize the fact that, previous tenant was the cinemas, which their traffic flow was various depending on, what movie was showing, so on. What we're doing here is basically a training facility. People are coming in the morning, pretty much stay there pretty much all day long and leave towards the end of the day. And that's kind of how it is with also some of the function of the ERP. They disperse in the morning with the trucks. They go about their business outside and come back towards the end of the day and kind of regroup. So the traffic pattern from what it was before the theater versus now is totally different. It just, morning and night kind of traffic.
Right, but it doesn't take into account Ms. Wert's concerns about what is coming. It'd be different, I think, if we didn't know that these projects were in the works, but we do know. And even though they don't exist,
Correct.
there's
I think,
a
before-
possibility they will exist.
Correct, and then before tonight, I don't think I was aware of these other projects that's in the queue and potentially getting approved with that many vehicles in mind.
Is it possible that we could, you work on state projects all the time, you must have somebody in-house that would know how to trigger a traffic study by the state and what the potential problem would be.
Usually the trigger by the state is if we were looking at adding a new curb cut to their highway, in this.
Add a curb cut.
This situation where we're, preserving the existing, like
Yeah.
Ron had mentioned, the traffic flows,
yeah, their traffic flow is not the
much
real
less than,
Yeah,
You
if
would
I
have at
remember
the
the
cinema,
original,
yeah.
if I remember the original conversations, it was like a couple hundred people a day though, wasn't it?
I think in reality, I think they're looking at about 100 vehicles during
100
training
vehicles,
per day,
okay.
and ERP functioning, looking about the same.
Yeah.
Because
so it's
this,
almost more of an issue of what's coming down the pike being having an effect on you
correct.
than you having an effect on, and that your emergency services plan
Correct.
might be
Keep in
heavily
mind, the
affected.
emergency service plan will happen only when there's a major storm and outage, which might be
Yeah,
one or two a year perhaps, or,
And it might mean that-
depending, I guess, the season being New England, but,
Well, and it might mean that the people who would be causing a difficulty for you would be staying
Be
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I would
this-
assume that any type of disbursement of emergency vehicles would probably include some local law enforcement opening roads for you to get out anyway.
EverSource will be in contact with police and fire during all those emergency events. In fact, I learned in one of the early meetings that we had with the department heads is that the police and fire use this parking lot as an emergency location for a helipad. They use the parking lot for that at times, and so EverSource is willing to continue to accommodate that, and will be in close contact with police and fire and other, town of Wareham emergency personnel during that emergency response.
So
They'll actually have a crew actually directing traffic and folks actually out here that'll deploy just to make sure that the trucks are getting in and out.
All right, so on the helipad subject, you would, if something triggered the need for it, somebody at the facility would make
Correct.
sure that there was an open area.
The pre-meeting with EverSource, the police chief was there and, the fire chief was there, and I think they agreed that when this happens, they'll exchange information where they get hold of it, get full access to the site to get to the helipad or the landing area for the helicopter.
And do we know where that is on the site, or is
I
it?
think it's in basically that corner there. It's going to be maintained, so that.
Kept open?
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they want to have open communication when this happens with EverSource and both police and the fire department, so that they will clear the area in time so that they could have the helipad land there.
Yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile to inquire and see whether the traffic flows, including any increases that may result from the accumulation of projects, is part of the SERPID study of Route 28, because I think I don't know if I can recognize you or not. Let the record reflect that Tricia's saying no with her head, but
Who represents the town on that project?
Alan.
it's been Alan.
Alan?
Yeah,
Yeah, but who's going to represent the town in 2 weeks?
I don't know,
You're looking for volunteers.
yeah. I mean,
That's-
I've
that's
been to
one of
one
my
meeting
Talking
as-
points tonight after we're done.
Yeah, I've been to one meeting of that particular group, but I don't remember this being part of it. There will be someone from the planning board and someone from the select board. But it won't be Alan, because he will not be on the select board.
So have we been solicited for membership on this project?
There was a Zoom meeting on it about a week and a half ago, I think.
I'm sorry. Identify yourself, ma'am.
Tricia Wertz, 30 Taft Street,
Thank you.
again, still. I think Jane sat in on that meeting, the Zoom meeting as well, and it was, I think it was SERPID for the state looking at, did anything have to happen to Route 28? And they were primarily asking questions about, did the lanes flood anywhere? There wasn't any conversation about adding lanes, changing outages, et cetera. Jane, did you hear anything different at that?
No.
No.
But that was just a public forum. That was
Yeah, that
no
was not
formal
a really-
representation
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the town.
But there is an ongoing process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I think we covered quite a bit. We've had our public weigh in. If there's no other public input, I would make a motion or entertain a motion to continue this public hearing. I know
Mr. Chairman, is it possible to talk?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Just didn't want to interrupt you. I was wondering if the board would entertain granting a conditional approval this evening, given that EverSource is willing to commit to responding to the detailed stormwater comments is very detailed, and we can do that, very
Yeah, but
quickly.
you used a phrase, commit to responding. That's
Well,
not
conditionally.
commit to action. That's two
Well, it would be
different things.
if you added it as a condition that we resolve the technical comments to the satisfaction
Well, we
of the
still-
peer reviewer.
I would like to get clarification on if we can grant the variance. I think that's a sticking point for us.
or relief. It wouldn't be, we can't grant a variance.
Well, relief from the, right, in lieu of a variance.
In lieu of a variance.
Yes, which we don't know that 100%, so I would be inclined to say no until we get that point straightened out. And that'll also give you time, I think, to figure out if in fact you can modify the basin without, and meet the standards that Mr. Cordero mentioned, and not infringe on conservation to the point where now they have an issue with what you've got planned. So I would, yeah, I'd be hesitant to go that route. I don't know what the other board members think. So,
If we were going to move forward, have we made any progress on getting assistance in writing decisions?
yes and no, but we're gonna talk about that afterwards, yeah. So, I mean, the 13th is already starting to fill up, but I'd be willing to squeeze this in rather than asking you to wait till the 27th.
No, 20th.
I mean, 20th.
Remember, the 27th, as we were reminded.
Oh, yeah, so some sort of holiday.
It's a holiday, some kind of.
Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so that we could, get you in on the 13th rather than asking you to wait that extra time.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to continue the public hearing on 37 Doty Street. NStar Electric, DBA EverSource Energy, to the regularly scheduled planning board meeting of Monday, May 13th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Related to this matter, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the planning board authorize the chair to reach out to town council to get clarification on our ability to grant relief from the waiver to N60.
Yes, 1062. 1062, 1062.
1062. The conditions of 10-0, specific to the landscaping islands in the middle of the parking lot.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam? Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. I will reach out to the select board chair, ask for permission to talk to council, and then ask council for advice.
I was gonna ask how that's going.
All right, so the next, we've moved into general business, so I make a motion that the planning board authorize the chair to reach out to town council for clarification on the settlement for 3221 RESI LLC. I know that the attorney for the applicant said he was going to reach out to council, but I think as long as we have authorized Mr. King, if he needs to, he should be able to speak with town council.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay. Where's my notepad? Follow up on the expiring bonds for Makepeace and other solar projects.
I saw a whole flurry of communications.
Well, I asked for clarification from the planning office on the status of Farm to Market Road, and let's see if I can find it. Looking at the spreadsheet that has all of our projects, there's 3 projects, 2 of them that are, actually all 3 of them are past their review dates. And the two specifically is 77 Farm to Market and 71 Charlotte Furnace. We've been back and forth with the legal representation for these two arrays several times over the last 6-8 months. First starting with concerns about the valuation of the decommissioning. At the end of the day, we still don't have a decommissioning bond in place for them.
So I move that we request the town enforcement officer to issue a stop work order to those two projects until such time as a decommissioning bond has been established.
The other one, there's one more.
Oh,
If we're
then
gonna
the-
do that, we might as well group them all.
Was it 77?
It was 77 Farm to Market Road and 71 Charlotte Furnace Road. And then the other one, which the review date was actually in 2019, which is 0 Charlotte Furnace Road. And
Have we been negotiating with them? I know the others we were negotiating.
the other two we have, these 0 Charlotte and 160 Tihonet, to the best of my knowledge, there's been no communication from the planning office.
So I don't know that we should come down hard on them yet. That's a board decision. But we've been trying to negotiate with these other folks.
It's been months, and they,
Didn't feel any pressure to
well, I mean, my last correspondence with the attorney representing them was very nicely saying, we need to have this in place before your bond expires, or we're gonna have to issue a stop work order.
Is that the appropriate enforcement mechanism?
That's the only one we have available to us. I mean, right now,
Is
they're
there
in
another one that you're aware of?
Yeah, right now, they're in violation.
I don't know. I guess I would think about adding that to the list of things that you're going to talk with town council about, to see
Okay.
what it is that one does at this point in order to be most maximally
All right.
communicative about the importance of this and the consequences of failing to.
All right, so I withdraw my motion to issue. I move that we authorize, yet again, the chair to engage town council to take action on bond enforcement for these 5, how many projects is it?
There's 4 right now.
4, on these 4 projects. Bond enforcement is, if we can't enforce the bonds, and if we can't enforce, now I'm editorializing, I'm sorry. I move that we authorize the chair to engage town council to actively begin action to enforce the bonds.
Yep.
And to advise the board on whatever the board
And-
can and should do.
And to advise the
achieve
board.
this end.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right, so I've got 3 points to ask permission to talk to Mr. Bowen about. Okay, what have you got?
Sam's first? Okay, so, just, I was gonna ask a question about the update. I spoke to Josh quickly at the beginning of the meeting. As you know, the Attorney General is reviewing the bylaw changes we made, the zoning bylaw changes we made at Fall Town Meeting. I believe we got a letter 30 days ago requesting yet another extension that is expiring imminently. And I believe in that letter from her, that was their last extension. So they need to be giving us feedback on those, on the findings. I requested that when we get that, that we put an item to review those findings on the agenda in public. So I've requested that Josh notify you and Sonia, and we find a time on one of the upcoming agendas, either the 13th or the 20th, to
address it.
well, to get the feedback and decide on if we need to take action in response to her feedback. So that was item 1. We have received a citizen at the last public hearing on one of our solar projects, and in a letter follow-up, we had asked for a follow-up, referencing 330 CMR 22, which is the state, one of the state agencies treating solar panels as impervious surface for stormwater and flow calculations. So are you familiar, Phil, with 330 CMR 22?
No, not
Okay,
that
so
one in particular.
put that in your ear, and so I'm requesting that we get a report from the planning office on how we should interpret 330 CMR 22 in the stormwater calculations for applications for solar projects, and if it affects our, how we review those calculations, and what our authority to do so is. So,
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would be fairly important to understand how that may affect some of the pending projects.
Right.
Because, you know, I think we had some concerns about water flows
Right.
in any event, and if there is a change in how we should be looking at this, it would be important for us to know that pretty soon.
So I'm requesting that either we get a report from the planning office at one of our upcoming, or if the planning office feels they're not the right interpreter, that we engage Allen and Major, or if you're not the right interpreter either, the right person to provide us how we need to, if we need to, and how we need to apply this to our stormwater calculations. And I will work with the Rules and Regs ad hoc subcommittee if we need to, in the interim, revise the rules and regs. That was point 2.
If I may, before you move on, just a point of information for the board. The Massachusetts stormwater regulations don't recognize solar panels as impervious currently, but they are working towards doing that through the revisions that they're actively making now.
Well, this was a specific citing, which I have not read yet, that claims, and I don't challenge the claim, that this agency is saying they are impervious and should be treated as such.
So I don't know this citation either, and I'll look into it as well, but do know that it is coming regardless of what's in this document.
So if we need to be proactive, we can do that through the rules and regulations, or if we can rely on 330 CMR 22 to be proactive. My question is, what does it mean, and what's our authority, and what should we do? And I'm requesting the planning office help provide guidance on that.
Understood.
And you need to do that for Concom as well, I think.
330 CMR 22 is the Agricultural Preservation Restriction Program.
Right, yes.
That's different than the stormwater regulations.
But I'm extrapolating.
Yes, and I think you're absolutely right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say this was a stormwater regulation. What I was trying to say is, if we treat solar as impervious, what does it mean to how we calculate and treat stormwater runoff on these fields?
I think that's right.
That's what I was trying to say. So I'm requesting that we request that.
I think that's a good request.
Okay, next item. As you know, there is an informal subcommittee working with Serpide to try and get a grant to review our bylaws. I would like to acknowledge that Ms. Gleason says that we need to take a look at the FAR regulations in Article 6. So I'd like permission to meet with her to find out what the concerns are and if we need to, what we need to do about that.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm 2, 3, 4. I already talked about the motion for you to engage counsel. And I think we should actively work to keep Sherry from getting elected, so if you can't.
I've already got a plan in place, don't you worry about that.
No, I'm sorry. I wish her all the best, and I.
That kind of leads into my next subject.
Okay, those were my items then. I'm sorry for the facetious comment.
So, do you have anything, Sam?
No, I'm waiting to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so the next subject, of course, is a succession plan. We have changes to the board coming, not that far down the road. And I would like to be more proactive than typical. So, as much as it pains me to admit it, I think Sherry is probably gonna be somewhat successful in her bid for a seat on the Board of Selectmen.
I'm not sure what to wish for, but damn it.
So that leaves a very valuable person missing from the board. And in case anybody who's been attending the board meetings in the last 6 months leaves early and hasn't heard me proclaim, at the end of June, my term here will be done. I'm not gonna come back for a third term. So we need to start thinking very, very hard about, we need to look for another associate member to fill Sherry's seat, which is gonna be difficult. And we need to decide, well, we need another member to fill my vacancy and figure out what the hierarchy of the board's gonna look like after my tenure is over. So, I mean, I don't know what the board members have been thinking in their own minds.
And they have been talking.
I'm sure the whole town is talking, I have no doubt. But it is.
Got a lot of no's.
You got a lot of no's.
Got a lot of
yeah.
no's.
But we do need to start thinking about this seriously over, I mean, we've got 2.5 months, and I don't want to wait until 2 weeks.
And as part of that, not only succession planning, we need to sort of summarize the open cases and figure out if we have a
Right,
quantum of vote for the cases.
correct. So, we're probably gonna need some help from the planning office on
Like a town planner.
the open cases and how that positions the board. Because we do have some cases that have been ongoing for quite some time, that if we have 2 seats vacant,
And any member has missed 2 meetings.
we may have something that we need to deal with. So I'd like to deal with that long before the end of June. So maybe we can get together. Well, I'm leaving town Wednesday, I won't be back till next week, so this week's out, but, maybe the week after, because the week after that, I'm leaving town again.
You let me know. I'm in the town hall for 10 hours a day, so come on down.
I'll bring coffee, I'll try to make it painless.
Yeah, and don't forget Fearing Hill, because that's, if it comes back, that's really old, and we need to figure out who's.
Right. Yeah.
Josh, are there any updates on Fearing Hill?
Solar?
Yeah.
We had a meeting with Mass DEP, and they were reevaluating their potential issuance of a superseding order of conditions. The DEP evaluator, he retired and then came back, and the first person he was training moved into a different position. So, given the time that he was gone and a new evaluator, they wanted to conduct another site visit. So we did that last month. So right now, we're waiting to see if they issue a superseding order of conditions for the project.
Okay.
But that's only half, right? Then there would still be the.
They would still have to, appeal the town's decision in court. And they'd have to get generally they'll use the superseding order of conditions within their appeal to a judge to say, hey, the state has no problem with this. So generally, it comes after they receive that superseding order of conditions.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, so they haven't appealed it yet.
So it's not coming soon.
Right, they haven't appealed our bylaw yet, but they have appealed to the state.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And then the last thing, which isn't anywhere near as exciting, is we have bills to pay.
It's exciting for Phil.
So, we can do this one of two ways. Since I'm not here for the long term, it really doesn't matter to me. One of the ways is Sonia presents the invoices for the planning board's review. Not so much approval, but just review, so that we're aware of where the planning office funds are going. And then we collectively say, yep, this looks good, or no, Phil can't get paid today. And then there was a proposition that was put forth where the chair, whoever it may be, can do this in the planning office with the understanding that the planning office provide a summary of what took place at each meeting so that the board is aware of these bills that are being paid. One way or another, like I said, it doesn't matter to me. She kind of made it sound like this was a truckload of work and this would take forever to go through, but I mean, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, your bills are, they're a little thick, but,
Sorry.
so anyway, but for tonight, so that we can at least get this part of it done. So we have a outstanding invoice for, I don't know how to say his last name, Milosh.
Puchovsky.
Yes, God bless you. And Associates for his review work on the 53G account. Well, it's being paid through the 53G account for Borrego, 27 Charge Pond Road, for $1,218.75. And it does have the associated description of services and timesheets attached to it. I'm assuming, Josh, that anytime we see one of these, there's sufficient funds in the 53G account to settle the invoice.
Right, so we need to read that into the record so that it gets as a document that we've...
So, this one here, like I said, is for PL Milosh Puchovsky and Associates, in reference to 27 Charge Pond Road, in the amount of $1,218.75.
So did you review that?
I have not, I just got these
Oh, you
tonight.
just got these tonight.
Yes. That was kind of I was kind of leaning toward having the chair going into the planning office, reviewing either now, this is a point of detail, but we're not technically approving it. We're just making the board aware of the fact that these funds have been spent.
Right, and historically, you appointed the town planner to do that in your,
Right, and
But
on
that
our
happened
behalf.
That happened somewhere in the fog of history that nobody knew about, so...
Right,
but-
yeah, we never, ever knew anything about bills, ever.
okay,
I
so
mean,
it happened before this board had
Right,
turned
and
over at
most,
some
any,
point.
yeah. I mean, Mike was probably here, but then he was here when...
It's been a long time ago, but it just went away.
So I move that we request the chair read these items into the record, and then we authorize him to take action on any unquestionable, any invoice that seems straightforward, that doesn't have any questions, and if there's something that he has questions on, you bring it back.
Yep, okay, that makes sense. All right, so that was for Milosh Puchovsky. Then we have,
Well, I made a motion, so we need to authorize you to...
we need a second.
Mike seconded.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Mike Baptiste. All in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Okay, so we'll just read these into the record, we'll discuss them briefly, and then
Yep.
you can take whatever action needs to be taken.
Okay, so I'm gonna have his name down pat by the time this is over. So, invoice number 1, PL Milosh Petrovsky and Associates, in reference to 27 Charge Pond Road, being paid from a 53G account in the amount of $1,218.75. It does leave a balance of $754.70, so we do have a running ledger. And this is for services to review, again, 27 Charge Pond Road. The next item is for they left part of it out. Allen and Major, in reference to Sarah John Realty LLC, 2854 Cranberry Highway, in the amount of $8,771.18. And this leaves a balance in the 53G account. We don't have a running balance. So again, Josh, I'm gonna defer to you that we have money.
Yeah, all the bills you have before you tonight are payable,
Funded.
are funded
Are
and
all
payable.
funded?
Correct.
Yep, okay. The next is also Allen Major in reference to Sarah John Real, oh, there it is, right there. I do have it. My mistake. Sarah John Realty LLC, 2854 Cranberry Highway, in the amount of $945, leaving a balance in the 53G account of $2,818.44.
Which project was the previous one for?
I think all of them
Yeah.
have that balance sheet on
That
them.
was the same
right?
project.
Sarah John's.
Yep. All right. Get ready, Mike. Allen and Major in reference to Bay Point Club in the amount of $3,009.76.
Checks in the mail.
Leaving a balance of
Oh, yeah.
$2,868.46.
So just on that one in particular, have you met with Dennis on Phase 1 yet?
No, sir, I've not heard from anyone. I was actually going to ask the board if there had been any communication from Bay Point.
I've heard zero from Dennis or Tim in 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
So he got what he wanted, and now he's,
in the wind.
so we still have Phase 1, and we have not reconciled the Schedule A for Phase 2, right?
No, sir.
Phase 3, he's got what he was looking for.
Right, Phase 3 was the lowest hanging fruit of the three.
Right. Josh, do we know if we have sufficient funds for Phase 1 and Phase 2 to cover Phil's work? Because I know it was pointed out to us that all these phases are all compartmentalized.
I'm unaware. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, maybe the planning office can confirm whether or not, because that would be the next logical conversation with Mr. Fay, would be, hey, we have outstanding issues with Phase 1 and Phase 2, and we need the 53G account funded.
And I just want to make Dara aware that there was an issue raised by the sewer department, right? About a taking of land. That apparently they believe that the project their standpipe has been placed on property that they don't own. So just if you happen to go out there, and I don't know, it's not our issue. It's really, I think, Paul Turner's issue, but just so you're aware. I don't know, just so you're aware.
Okay.
It's a standpipe, and this sewer, the water department, I guess, Onset Water,
Onset Water brought it.
believes it's on their property.
Sonia texted me and said that Bay Point did make a deposit. It looks like you should have a sheet attached, a balance sheet attached to theirs.
For Phase 1 and Phase 2? Because it was pointed out to us quite clearly that all these phases are independent.
Oh, okay. I don't know. She just said there's a deposit sheet.
There is a
there.
balance
Okay.
sheet here, but it doesn't indicate, doesn't indicate what phase, but based on the bill, we know it's Phase 3.
Okay, gotcha.
So we need to identify how much funds are in Phase 1 and Phase 2.
And again, we've been snookered. They got what they wanted, and then they disappeared.
Well,
Abetted by,
are there any open public hearings right now for them?
no.
Okay.
These are all administrative issues.
All right,
and-
so
and
it's-
court issues.
Where there's no public open hearings, the standpipe obviously is a concern brought forth by the water department. The other concern is part of their approval for this project was to create the conference center. And part of that approval is maintaining a championship golf course.
Which they aren't maintaining.
Which they are not doing. So that becomes an enforcement issue, which could effectively shut down everything regardless of phases at that point.
Right. So, I don't know.
So do we?
I move that we authorize the chair to engage town council to advise us on enforcement issue, particularly with the overall permit and the requirement to maintain a championship golf course, and the fact that we're not getting progress on Phase 1 bond, on Phase 2 schedule of values. And Phil, did you ever, were not here when we did Phase 4, but that was not a subdivision. But I think there's inspections required for Phase 4. We need to go back and look. That's not an issue for you, but Phase 4 was not a subdivision, but it was it's part of the site plan special permit. So there's got to be inspections required for Phase 4, but he hasn't started construction over there yet.
No, but he did start, he cleared it.
He cleared it before he had the approvals.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so I move that we authorize the chair to engage town council on enforcement, advising us on enforcement on bond issues and covenant issues and lack of progress with Bay Point.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Carl Schultz, seconded by Sam Corbett. All in favor, Sherry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Sick of that guy.
That's all I have, unless you have more. If there's something.
I don't know, you've got 3 more members you didn't ask.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Wait,
We have a motion by Mike.
Non-debatable,
Mike
by the way.
Baptiste, seconded by Sam
Adjourn,
Corbett.
though.
All in favor, Sherry?
Before we adjourn,
Uh-oh.
Not anymore. No more. Sherry, vote.
then I'm going
Wow.
to vote no, because there's an open item on the table.
Not debatable. You can vote no.
this is
All you
not a,
want.
this is not a debate, this is a comment by a member that was skipped over as the motion was made.
We'll skip over.
Because we were in
I was gonna make
the
a-
section of the agenda to allow members commenting.
This'll take 5 seconds, guys.
Yeah,
But
I have no
I'll wait
issue.
till next time, if that's, this is so fun. What I wanted to say is, I think next meeting may be the last planning board meeting that I'm at. And what I wanted to do, if we have time on the agenda, is talk with you a little bit about what I see looking forward with the development of transmission infrastructure, distribution infrastructure, the state's climate change, population of generation, the costs associated with the impact on this area, and the dangers that I see.
The next meeting is the public hearing on the 15th, and after that, we're into May, and you're gone.
Right, it would have to be at the next meeting.
So that's another agenda item for your meeting on the 15th.
But I'm happy to skip it if you're,
No, that's okay, I think it's important.
okay.
So if Sonia could add that to the agenda as well. I guess my one-item meeting.
Can we have a vote?
Yes, aye.
Jane,
What are
Aye.
we voting on now?
Aye.
his motion to adjourn,
To adjourn.
Is there a second?
Yep.
right down there. You're the last vote here,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Good night, everyone. Thanks
night.
Thanks for sticking it out.